Hello guys and welcome back to I'm a Celeb Catch Up, and today we are talking about episode 15 in which Nella Rose had to face Fright at the museum. I think that's what it was called. Yeah, sure. And there was also a challenge to get the letters from home and lots of other little arguments, disputes, and a general feeling of unease in the camp, especially surrounding the food situation. So before we get in, guys, thank you guys very much for the support on this channel. You guys have been amazing. Keep up that support. I don't really know what I'm gonna do after I'm a celeb. Probably go back to Big Brother 25, and also if there's anything else that's interesting going on, I might do a little recap on that. There's some TV shows that are coming out that I might do some recaps on. But thank you guys very much for the support, and make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. So without much further ado, let's get into the episode. The start of the episode was quite dramatic. I thought there was, I can't remember who it was. Somebody went down to the creek and saw that there was a snake there. Tony was like, oh, good job I didn't go down there because I would have screamed and shouted. And then there was a conversation about, Nigel kicked it off, and I can't remember how he kicked it off, but he was very much against something that I was shocked he was against. And then he was like, oh, but the only reason why it's still a thing is because of European greed. And that immediately got Fred's back up. And Fred was like, no, you can't blame it on that. You can't blame it on that, etc., etc. And they were just going backwards and forwards for a bit. And I was just like, this is not how I expected to start my episode, but okay. I pick up the vibes that we're getting. It seems like Fred is very outspoken, and he also doesn't know when to leave well enough alone. Like, when you've got someone like Nigel making comments like that, he's looking for a reaction, and Fred's giving him that reaction, which is effectively giving Nigel airtime. So I would like Fred to just call it a bit, because, like, especially, we'll get onto it a little bit later, but, like, the way he's treating Josie at the moment is not good at all, and it's very frustrating to watch, I gotta say. There was also a really interesting point when I think someone pointed out that Sam hasn't really been pulling his weight with the water, and so he made a point of doing it and was like, please let me know if I'm not doing enough, because sometimes I just forget to do things and they just leave my mind. And so I feel like that's fair. I'm glad that he was open and honest about it, and no one really was hard on him about it. But he did fill up the water, which was good. And I think Nick was his partner on it, and they were just sort of like, oh yeah, it's fine, it's fine. Like, just make an effort in the future, and I'll let you know when you need to do it. So yeah, that was all that happened before the trial. So the trial was called Fright at the Museum, and I gotta say, Nella absolutely smashed it. She did really, really well. I was very, very impressed with her effort, and I was very impressed that she managed to get through the trial without quitting, because she has done that now 3 times. She quit the... I'm trying to think. She quit the No Time to Cry. She quit the one with... Fuck, I've forgotten what one she's quit. She quit the key one. Maybe she's only quit twice. I could be wrong. I thought it was 3 times, but I also could be very, very wrong. I don't know. But either way, she did really, really well. I was very, very impressed with her. And I gotta say, it did seem like a bit of a tough trial. Not in terms of, like, how hard it was, but in terms of, like, it was difficult to navigate, because it was a room completely in the pitch black that you've got to reach into hellhole. So in a manner of speaking, I think this is better than doing it with the lights on, because you genuinely can't see a thing. So even though there are horrible things in those things, you won't be able to see them, you won't be able to experience them. So I feel like it was a good trial for her to kind of get over that fear a little bit. She did have some coping mechanisms, in the fact that she was just chanting things over and over again, like Lefty Lucy, and because she needed to remember which way to turn the screws, the stars on the screws. And also, there was something else she was saying. She was like, she was like, I can't give up, I can't give up. Like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And I was like, do you know what? That's exactly the kind of attitude that you need to have in these trials, is you need to have a positive mental attitude, PMA, in order to get past these trials. They're difficult. They're not meant to be easy. And this one was quite tricky. I think if the lights were on, it would have been piss easy. But since the lights were off, it kind of meant that she was walking around in circles for a little bit. The only thing that she refused to do was crawl underneath the sarcophagus into like a spider den, which I'm gonna be honest, I'd have refused as well. So she managed to get 9 out of 10 stars, and I just gotta say, it was really impressive to watch her. She's now done 8 trials, I'm pretty sure, 8, which is absolutely crazy. That's more than most people do in the jungle. I mean, at this point, Fred hasn't even done 1 on his own or with a partner. So, like, some people get 8, some people get none, but she's still doing incredibly well. She might quit, but she does as much as she can before. Do you get what I mean? But anyway, yeah, that was what happened on the trial. I was impressed, and yeah, let's move on. I think one of my favourite things about I'm a Celebrity is learning things about celebrities that I didn't know beforehand. And Josie was very open about the fact that she broke her arm at a party and didn't realise it was broken, so kept partying, and then had to go to the A&E the next day, which was crazy. I don't know how you wouldn't realise your arm was broken, because you must have been in a considerable amount of pain. And she said that it was so badly broken that they had to break it again in order to fix it, which, oh, do you know what? At that point, it's just like, chop it off, get rid of it, CBA. No, I'm joking. That was a joke. But yeah, on the whole, I gotta say, very, very interesting conversation. She also mentioned how she broke her ankle while she was out at a nightclub, which was interesting. And then Nigel tells us that he's been run over before. So not only has he been in a plane crash, a car crash, but he's also been run over before. And don't forget the slushy incident, or the milkshake, or the whatever that was thrown over him. What do you mean you got run over? Even Josie was like, nothing can kill you. We think you're unkillable. And I was like, do you know what? Absolute facts. Absolutely facts. Because what is going on? What is going on here? What is happening in this place? And then he started sunbathing Nigel. It was like sun tanning. And I was like, crazy. Did not expect to see Nigel Farage sunbathing in the jungle. Got the glasses on. And then a vicious rumour spread like wildfire around the camp that Nigel Farage has a nipple piercing. And when I tell you, this man vehemently defended him. No, of course I don't have a... No, why would I have one of those? Ugh. Ugh. I was like, oh my god, this guy is crazy. Absolutely crazy. So the camp was split into half in order to win each other's letters from home. So the first group was Danielle, Sam, Nick, Nigel and Frankie. And they were trying to win the other half of the camp's letters from home. What they had to do was they had like these... They almost had like half pipes, like gutter pipes. And they had strings. And they had to transfer a ball from the bottom to the top across 5 like open pipes. Which sounds a lot easier than it actually was, because you have to get the balance right. You have to start lifting it up, and it is tricky. They did very, very well in order to get all 5 of the letters from home. And like when I tell you, some of them were buzzer beaters. What was happening was the letters were in like a shredder, and they were like being shredded down. And if you sorry, I'm just getting rid of that hair. And if they took too long, then the letter would have been shredded. But fortunately, nobody's letter got shredded. But when I tell you that this was actually quite a tense trial, it wasn't really a trial. There was no bugs or anything. It was just a simple game of balance and patience. But yeah, they did exceptionally well. Once they got into the groove of things, it became a lot easier. The second group really struggled at first. Danielle, Nick, Frankie, Nigel, and... Nope, that was who they were playing for. Nella, Marvin, Josie, Tony and Fred were the other group, and they were struggling a little bit, and it was all down to Josie, unfortunately. Josie was really struggling to get the balance and the patience and just trying to get it up. So she ended up going from the first person to the second person to the third person, and then eventually she was just in the fifth position. And so once she got into that fifth position, oh my god, she was like Lightning McQueen. She was so quick at it, so good at it, and so controlled. And it's crazy because because they're so high up, some people like Danielle were really struggling to see where the ball was and how the gutter was moving. But yep, they did an absolutely phenomenal job. I got to hand it to them. I was really impressed overall. They really could have fucked this one up and left people without their letters from home, but they didn't. Everybody got to hear their letters from home. I will say this, I'm a Celebrity falls under the curse of plonky piano music whilst we hear from their loved ones. And like, as much as it's lovely for them, it does not make entertaining viewing. And the only time that I've seen Letters from Home done well in like recent memory has been Big Brother, when they evicted Matty in his letter from home. Even though it wasn't a letter from home, it was a letter from Big Brother. That was how crazy it was. That was such a cool twist that like, they can't do it if I'm a celeb, but like, I just wish that like there was a little bit more interest in the whole situation, because it is a little bit boring watching them just get messages from home. I won't lie. It's not the most interesting thing that could happen. So it's time for Kitchen Nightmares Part 3, as Fred calls it. And I gotta say, I'm not being funny, this is nowhere near a kitchen nightmare. They are thriving. Josie is doing very, very well. Yeah, she might make mistakes, but she'll own up to them and it'll be fine. And like, there was a moment early on in the episode where Fred hadn't cleaned a pot properly, or like he'd left a pot uncovered so that like something had got into it and made it dirty again, so they had to go rewash it. But like, it was just a little bit of an interesting moment, because I was like, Fred, you harped on about clean dishes and clean pots. But yeah, so the meal was sausages, and Josie mentioned that she smelt a lot of sausages, which has to be a euphemism, surely. Surely that's got to be a euphemism. And then she was saying like, oh, I'm going to make chips. And then Fred was like directing her on how to make chips. And Josie was like, Fred, I've been making chips since I was like 8. I was brought up on chips. Don't tell me how to cook chips, because I know how to cook them. Oh, you're not cooking them properly. I will cook them how I want to cook them. And then, do you know what the really cheeky thing was? Fred loved the food. After he had been bitching and moaning and complaining about the fact it wasn't going to turn out good, it was a kitchen nightmare, she should take his advice, he fucking loved it. He was like, oh my god, this is actually really, really good. Oh my god, this is really good. And I was like, that's what I mean. I don't like to be this person, but Fred has really become an unlikable person in like the last couple of days. Ever since he had the chef role taken away from him, he has been acting like a spoilt child and like he's entitled to cook. And I just think, you know what, you're in the jungle, just chill out. You don't need to be useful all the time. Just relax, please. Oh my god, just let Josie get on with what she needs to do, because you're making it an uncomfortable and infuriating camp to live in. So it's time to talk about the first person who has been voted out of the jungle. And technically it's the third person to leave the jungle, but the first person to be voted out, so it's a bit complicated. But that person was Frankie. It came down to Frankie and Nella. Nella not necessarily being the second least voted person, but Frankie definitely being the least voted person. And I am not surprised in the slightest. I sometimes forget that he's in the jungle. I think everybody else brings something interesting to the table. Like, I notice them every episode because they're doing something. Whereas, like, there are some episodes where I genuinely forget that Frankie's in the camp. And I just see him in the background and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So, like, I'm not surprised that he's gone. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about Frankie, honestly. Like, his best bits were kind of a bit meh. And he did 2 trials while he was in camp. One of them was bollocks in the mouth. One of them was in the dark. So, like, he didn't really have any interesting best bits, apart from getting milked on with Nick. That was crazy. But yeah, his exit interview was fun, interesting. He spoke about how he wants Sam to win, which is interesting because I really thought he didn't like Sam from like the looks that he was giving Sam. But Apparently he wants Sam to win. It seems like a lot of people want Sam to win, and I gotta say, I kind of do want Sam to win. I really want him to be king of the jungle. Oh my god, just imagine how happy everyone would be for him. Oh no, because that's so cute. But yeah, so that's really all that happened in this episode. There's not really much that went on. And yeah, so thank you guys very, very much for watching. I will see you guys later on today for another episode. Recapping last night's episode. And I will see you guys later. Keep on ranting. Bye now.